As her latest TikTok video hit 10,000 likes, Adora's 5-year-old daughter sat alone in the rain outside her school, forgotten for the third time that month. Onelarila, Adora's thumb hovered over her phone screen, her heart racing as she refreshed her TikTok notifications for the 100th time that day. A satisfied smile spread across her face as the numbers continued to climb. Her latest dance challenge video was blowing up, comments flooding in like a digital tidal wave of validation. Queen of the vibes, Adora for the crown. You are my inspiration, lady. She was on the cusp of hitting 500, zero followers, a milestone that had consumed her thoughts for months. The afternoon sun filtered through the dusty windows of her bungalow in Onuka, casting a warm glow on the unwashed dishes in the sink. But Adora barely noticed the mounting mess around her. Her world had narrowed to the bright rectangle of her phone screen, where she was more than just a wife and mother. She was a rising star. The kitchen clock ticked quietly, marking time in a rhythm she no longer followed. Instead, her days were measured in likes, shares, and viewer accounts. TikTok had become her escape, a glittering portal to a world where the mundane responsibilities of daily life fell away, replaced by the intoxicating rush of viral success. In the background, the sounds of her 5-year-old daughter Kami's cartoon show drifted from the living room. Once, Adora would have joined her, adding silly voices to the characters and sharing giggles with her little girl. Now, she was too busy planning her next content piece, mentally cataloging outfit changes and tracking trending sounds. Her husband Emeka's voice echoed in her memory from breakfast. "Will you be making dinner tonight?" She had nodded absently, already lost in her phone screen. The promise lay forgotten now, like so many others lately, buried under the weight of comments to respond to and followers to engage. Adora's fingers danced across her screen as she replied to comments, each interaction feeding a hunger she hadn't known existed before TikTok. In her videos, she was graceful, confident, and put together, everything she felt slipping away in her real life. The line between her online persona and her true self was blurring, like a filter that couldn't quite be turned off. A notification popped up. Another 100 followers gained. Adora's pulse quickened as she watched the numbers tick up. Each new follower was a step closer to her dreams. Though if asked, she couldn't quite explain what those dreams were anymore. Was it fame? Recognition? Or something deeper? A validation she couldn't find in the quiet moments of family life. The sound of Kami's show ended, replaced by the little girl's voice calling out, "Mommy, I'm hungry." "Just a minute, honey," Adora called back automatically, her eyes never leaving the screen. Her daughter's need registered dimly in the back of her mind, but the siren call of social media was louder, more insistent. Just one more video to watch, one more comment to answer, one more chance to feel the rush of being seen, really seen, by thousands of strangers who thought she was extraordinary. Outside her window, the sun was setting over Onuka, painting the sky in colors no filter could improve, but Adora didn't notice. Her world had shrunk to the size of her phone screen, where likes sparkled like stars and comments flowed like water, promising to quench a thirst she didn't realize was actually growing stronger with each sip of virtual validation. The real world, with its dishes to wash, meals to cook, and children to tend, was fading into the background like an underexposed photograph. In its place, a new reality was taking shape, built on algorithms and approval from strangers. And Adora, caught in the gleam of artificial light, didn't notice the shadows lengthening across her actual life, threatening to swallow everything she once held dear. At first, the changes were subtle, like cracks spreading slowly across a window. A missed dinner here, a forgotten school pickup there, small fractures in the routine of daily life that Emeka tried to dismiss. She's just excited about her videos, he would tell himself, watching his wife's face, illuminated by the blue glow of her phone screen late into the night. But beneath his reassurances, worry gnawed at him like a persistent toothache. The kitchen, once filled with the aromatic symphony of Adora's cooking, now stood silent more often than not. Takeout containers accumulated in the trash, and the grocery list remained stubbornly pinned to the refrigerator, items unchecked. Emeka found himself making simple meals for Kami, trying to maintain some semblance of normality as Adora disappeared deeper into her virtual world. "Mommy, look what I drew at school today," Kami would exclaim, holding up colorful artwork with hopeful eyes. "That's nice, honey," Adora would respond, her gaze never leaving her phone as she perfected another transition for her latest video. The light in Kami's eyes would dim a little more each time, her artwork eventually finding its way to the refrigerator door without fanfare, secured by magnets next to forgotten shopping lists. But it was the rainy Wednesday afternoon that finally shattered the fragile peace they'd been maintaining. The clouds hung low over Onuka, releasing a steady drizzle that turned the schoolyard into a maze of puddles. One by one, children emerged from the school building, running to waiting parents with umbrellas and raincoats. All except Kami, Patwova, for 2 hours. The 5-year-old sat on the cold steps, her small backpack clutched to her chest like a shield. She watched as teachers left, janitors cleaned, and the school grounds emptied, leaving her alone with her growing fear. The rain soaked through her uniform, plastering her hair to her face as she waited, her eyes fixed on the school gate, willing her mother to appear. When Emeka finally arrived, elated by a concerned teacher's call, he found his daughter shivering and silent. The sight of her, small, wet, and abandoned, ignited something in him that had been smoldering for months. That evening, the tension in their home crackled like static before a storm. Adora sat on the couch, her fingers flying across her phone screen as she edited her latest video. The sound of a table being struck made her jump. "You forgot Kami again, Adora." Emeka's voice was tight with restrained anger, each word precise and cutting. Adora barely glanced up, her thumb still moving. "I said I'm sorry. I just lost track of time." Lost track of time. Emeka's hands clenched at his sides. She was drenched in the rain, crying. Do you think she'll forget that? Watching other children live with their parents, while she sat there alone. "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" Adora's patience wore thin, her voice rising defensively. "She's fine, isn't she?" The disbelief on Emeka's face was painful to witness. "You weren't always like this, Adora," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "You used to care about this family. Now, all you care about is your phone and strangers who don't even know you." Adora's jaw tightened, her phone finally lowering to her lap. "You don't get it, do you? This is my chance to be someone, to have a voice, to do something meaningful." "Meaningful?" Emeka laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think dancing in your living room for likes is meaningful? What about your daughter? What about me? When was the last time we sat together and had a real conversation?" And the accusation stung, and Adora rose to her feet, anger bubbling to the surface like a pot left too long on the stove. "You don't think I do enough? I take care of this house. I take care of Kami, and now I'm building something for myself. But no, it's never enough for you." Emeka shook his head, his expression unreadable in the growing darkness. "You're not building anything, my dear Adora," he said softly. "You're destroying everything." Later that night, After the house had fallen into an uneasy silence, Emeka sat in the darkness of their kitchen, his phone pressed to his ear. "Mama, I can't do this anymore," he confessed, his voice heavy with exhaustion. His mother's sigh crackled through the connection. "You know I warned you about marrying her," she said. "She was always too flashy, too focused on appearances. Now see what it has come to." Emeka rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of his mother's words. "I don't need you to say I told you so, Mama. I need advice. What do I do?" "Bring Kami here," she said firmly. "At least the child will be cared for. As for Adora," she paused, her voice softening slightly, "maybe losing her family will wake her up." In the living room, oblivious to the conversation that would change her life, Adora continued scrolling through her comments, basking in the glow of virtual approval, while her real world grumbled around her. The morning light filtered through the curtains, revealing a living room transformed into an impromptu studio. Clothes, wigs, and props lay scattered across every surface as Adora perfected her latest content, an elaborate skit involving multiple costume changes. She barely noticed Kami tugging at her skirt, the child's voice a distant whisper against the thumping background music from her phone. "Mommy, I'm hungry," Kami said softly, her small fingers clutching the fabric of her mother's dress. "In a minute, honey, hold on," Adora replied distractedly, not looking away from her phone screen. She was focused on getting the perfect transition, her movements choreographed to match the trending sound she'd chosen. Kami wandered off, her little stomach rumbling as morning stretched into afternoon. By the time Adora finished filming, it was nearly 2 p.m. She rummaged through the fridge for leftovers, the thought of her daughter's hunger having slipped from her mind like water through cupped hands. The front door suddenly burst open, making Adora jump. Emeka stormed in, his face dark with anger. "Where's Kami?" he demanded, his voice loud enough to echo through the house. Adora blinked in confusion, her mind struggling to shift from the digital world to reality. "She's somewhere, I think." "She's not here," Emeka cut in, his voice cold and sharp. "She's at school. You forgot to pick her up again." The realization hit Adora like a physical blow. She glanced at the clock, her heart sinking as she saw it was well past the school's closing time. "I'm sorry," she stammered, reaching for her keys. "It's too late," Emeka said, his voice devoid of emotion. "I've already picked her up. She's at my mother's house now, where she'll actually be looked after." Before Adora could respond, the front door opened again. This time it was Mama Ki, Adora's mother, with a stern expression that suggested she'd heard about the day's events. "I heard what happened," Mama Ki said, setting her handbag down with decisive force. "What is wrong with you?" "Not you too, Mama," Adora groaned, collapsing onto the couch. "Yes, me too," Mama Ki snapped back. "You are playing with fire, my daughter. A good man like Emeka doesn't come around every day. Do you think those TikTok followers will hold your hands when you are lonely and old?" Adora frowned, her fingers instinctively reaching for her phone. "Mama, this isn't about Emeka. This is about me. For once in my life, doing something for myself." Mama Ki folded her arms, her expression hardening. "And in doing something for yourself, you are losing everyone else. Is it worth it?" Before Adora could respond, Emeka walked in. His face was set in a hard line, but his voice was calm, too calm. "Mama Ki, you are welcome. I respect you, but this conversation is pointless. Adora doesn't want to hear it, and besides," he paused, meeting Adora's gaze, "I have made my decision." Adora sat up, alarm coursing through her body. "What decision?" "I am leaving Adora," he said simply, "and I am taking Kami with me. I will come back for my things tomorrow." The next day unfolded like a nightmare. Emeka's siblings arrived to help him pack, their movements efficient and purposeful as they boxed up his belongings. Adora watched helplessly as they dismantled the life she'd taken for granted. One of his sisters, Amara, couldn't resist a parting shot. TikTok influencer, she sneered. Maybe you go viral with a video about how you lost your husband. Adora clenched her fists, fighting back tears. Stay out of it, Amara. Why should I? Amara shot back. You brought this upon yourself. Emeka deserves better. By the time they finished, the house felt hollow, echoing with emptiness. Adora sat alone on the couch, staring at the cracked mirror on the wall. Her reflection was distorted, a fitting metaphor for the woman who had traded her family for fleeting online fame. In the days that followed, Adora tried to drown her pain in more content creation. Her phone became both refuge and prison, each notification a temporary escape from the reality of her empty home. Her followers continued to shower her with praise, their words of admiration like balm to her wounded pride. Adora, you are the queen of TikTok. Don't let the haters bring you down. Your husband is just jealous of your success. Their encouragement fed her denial, fueling her need to prove that she was right and the world, her husband included, was wrong. But in the quiet moments, when her phone screen went dark and she could no longer hide from her reflection, the truth waited patiently for her to acknowledge it. She had sacrificed everything real for something that existed only in pixels and likes. Days turned into weeks, and Adora threw herself deeper into TikTok, using content creation like a bandage over a wound that wouldn't heal. The house around her fell into disarray. Dishes piled high in the sink, laundry mounted in corners, and the fridge stood nearly empty, save for takeout containers and the half-empty water bottles. But online, her world was pristine, filtered, and perfectly curated. She created increasingly elaborate skits, each one more complex than the last. The living room had become a permanent studio, with ring lights casting artificial daylight at all hours and props scattered across every surface. She began partnering with other influencers, their collaborative videos bringing in waves of new followers. The money started trickling in, small sponsorship deals and creator fund payments that she used to justify her growing obsession. You're living your best life, queen. This is what independence looks like. Who needs a man when you're killing it like this? Each comment was a hit of validation, numbing the pain of her empty house. But the tracks on her life continued to widen. Camille's absence haunted her, especially during quiet moments when the house felt too large, too silent. She missed her daughter's laughter, the bedtime stories, and even the chaos of morning school preparations. But instead of confronting these feelings, Adora buried them under the glittering veneer of TikTok fame. The loneliness was deafening. At night, when she lay in bed scrolling through her phone, the darkness seemed to press in from all sides. The bed felt too big without Emeka's warmth beside her. The house too quiet without Kami's footsteps in the hallway. But Adora filled the void with endless scrolling, content planning, and response videos to her fans. Her performance online became increasingly disconnected from her reality. While her TikToks showed her dancing in a spotless living room, the actual space was littered with take-out containers and discarded costume pieces. She filmed cooking videos in a kitchen where she barely prepared meals for herself anymore. Her smile grew brighter on screen as her eyes grew dimmer off it. One morning, she posted a video about staying true to yourself. In it, she danced through her living room, her movements precise and practiced, her smile dazzling. The caption read, "Living my authentic life, blessed self-worth, living my best life." But the comments that followed hit harder than expected. Is this the same woman who lost her husband and child to TikTok? What kind of mother chooses strangers over her own daughter? Adora, your life is falling apart. Stop pretending. The words clung to her like cobwebs, impossible to brush away. She tried to shrug them off, to keep dancing, keep smiling, keep creating. But something had shifted. The approval she sought online felt hollow. Each like and share an empty echo in the void where her family used to be. Late one night, as she sat cross-legged on her unmade bed, brainstorming ideas for her next video, her phone buzzed with a call. It was her sister, Chidima. Idora, what are you even doing to yourself? Chidima's voice was sharp, cutting through the protective bubble Adora had built around herself. Not true too, Adora sighed, leaning back against her headboard. I've had enough lectures from everyone. You think this is a lecture? This is a wake-up call, Chidima snapped. Do you even know what people are saying about you? Our mother can't walk to church without someone whispering about her TikTok daughter. And Emeka, her voice softened. He's broken, Adora. He won't even talk about you anymore. Adora's chest tightened. He'll come around, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. He just needs time. Time for what? Chidima pressed. For you to realize that followers don't replace family? Adora, your daughter barely asks about you anymore. She's growing used to her life without you. Is this what you want? The words felt like a slap. Adora ended the call abruptly, tossing her phone onto the coffee table, but the silence that followed was louder than any accusation Chidima could have hurled at her. In that silence, the reality of her choices loomed like shadows on the wall, dark, distorted, and impossible to ignore. Yet she pushed forward, filming more videos, partnering with new influencers, buying better equipment to elevate her content. But the spark was gone. Her creativity felt forced, her smile strained. The numbers were still growing, but so was the criticism. Her comment section became a battleground between supporters and critics, each thread a reminder of the life she was losing while chasing digital dreams. Scrolling through her feed late one night, a particular comment caught her eye. It's so sad to see someone destroy their life for 15 seconds of fame. You used to be inspiring, Adora. Now you are just a cautionary tale. Her hands trembled as she set her phone down, the words echoing in her mind. In the darkness of her empty house, surrounded by the trappings of her online persona, she finally asked herself the question she'd been avoiding. Was this really what she had become? And this was the way she felt. And the way she felt at every time. How long had been? One late night, as Adora sat in her empty living room, her finger mindlessly scrolling through her phone, she stumbled upon an old video. It wasn't one of her carefully choreographed TikToks, but a simple home video from months ago. There they were, she, Emeka, and Kami, attempting to bake a cake together. Flour covered their faces. The kitchen was a complete mess. But the laughter was real, unfiltered, unedited. The sound of Kami's giggles pierced through the fortress of denial she'd built around herself. On the screen, Emeka was helping their daughter crack an egg, both of them covered in flour, their faces lit with genuine joy. Adora watched as her past self wiped buttercream frosting on Emeka's nose, his mock outrage dissolving into warm laughter. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized how far she had drifted from that version of herself. The woman in the video wasn't concerned about angles or lighting, wasn't checking her phone every few minutes, wasn't performing for an audience of strangers. She was simply present, living in the moment with her family. The next morning, Adora sat down in front of her ring light, but something felt different. The usual rush of excitement that came with creating content was replaced by a heavy weight in her chest. She started filming, then stopped, deleted, and started again. Nothing felt right. The comments from her last few posts echoed in her mind. Remember when you used to post about your daughter? What happened to her? All that dancing while your family fought apart. Sad. This isn't content anymore. It's a cry for help. Finally, after hours of false starts, Adora did something she'd never done before. She turned off the ring light, moved her phone camera to eye level, and just talked. No filters, no transitions, no background music. Hi everyone, she began, her voice trembling. I've been on this platform for a while now, and it's been an incredible journey, but she paused, wiping away a tear. Somewhere along the way, I lost sight of what truly mattered. My daughter, my marriage. I thought this platform would give me purpose, but instead it became a distraction. I've hurt the people I love the most, and I need to fix that. She took a deep breath, her voice growing stronger with conviction. So this is my last video. I'm stepping away to focus on my family and on being the wife and mother they deserve. The likes, the follows, the comments, they don't warm your bed at night or hug you when you're sad. They don't replace the sound of your child's laughter or your husband's love. Adora uploaded the video and turned off her phone. She didn't want to see the immediate reactions she knew would follow. When she finally turned her phone back on the next day, her notifications were overwhelming. The responses were mixed. Adora, we'll miss you, but family comes first. Good luck. This takes so much courage. I'm proud of her. So after abandoning your family, now you want to play the victim? Girl, bye. Your followers made you, and now you're turning your back on us? The negativity stung, but Adora refused to let it deter her. Instead, she found herself standing outside Mama Emeka's house, her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. She hadn't spoken to Emeka for weeks, and she didn't know how he would react to her showing up unannounced. She knocked softly, and after what felt like an eternity, Mama Emeka opened the door. The older woman's expression was guarded, suspicious. What do you want, Adora? I came to see my husband and daughter, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Please. Mama Emeka stepped aside reluctantly, letting her in. In the living room, Emeka was sitting in his favorite chair, reading a book to Kami. When he saw Adora, his expression hardened immediately. The sight of them together, what she had thrown away for virtual fame, made her heart ache. Adora, he said, his tone cold. Why are you here? I'm sorry, she said, tears streaming down her face. I know I've messed up big time. I know I hurt you and Kami, but I've changed, Emeka. I've left TikTok. I want to fix this. I want us to be a family again. Emeka looked at her for a long moment before turning to his daughter. Kami, go play with Grandma for a bit. Once Kami was out of earshot, Emeka stood. Do you have any idea what you've put us through, Adora? Do you know how many nights I stayed up wondering if I should fight for this marriage or let it go? I do, she said, her voice shaking, and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Please, Emeka, I love you. I love Kami. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. This isn't going to be easy, Adora. Trust doesn't come back overnight. I don't care how long it takes, she said firmly. I just want my family back. The room fell silent, heavy with the weight of broken trust and the fragile possibility of redemption. Outside, the sun was setting over Onuka, casting long shadows through the windows. But for the first time in months, Adora wasn't thinking about lighting or angles or how to capture the moment for her followers. Instead, she was simply present, ready to begin the long journey back to what truly mattered. There was nightmare. The road to healing was neither straight nor easy. Some days, Adora's fingers would itch for her phone, muscle memory reaching for the dopamine rush of likes and comments. But instead of opening TikTok, she would reach for Kami's hand, or call Emeka, or busy herself with the small businesses they were building together. Emeka had surprised her one morning, 2 months into their reconciliation. "I've been thinking," he said over breakfast, their first shared meal in their newly reunited home. "You have good business sense, Adora. The way you built your following, managed your content. Maybe we could channel that energy into something real." Together, they opened a small shop selling foodstuffs, and later a boutique. The skills Adora had honed creating content, organization, presentation, customer engagement, found new purpose in the physical world. She arranged products with the same care she once gave to video transitions, but now she could see real smiles from real customers, feel the weight of actual earnings in her hands. The therapy sessions were harder. Twice a week, Adora and Emeka sat together in a small office, unpacking months of hurt and miscommunication. Sometimes they left feeling raw, exposed, but slowly, like a broken bone knitting back together, their relationship began to heal. Happy Homes was the name of the co-creator, who lived in a very small office in a local school where they shared mutual emotional trauma. "I still don't understand," their therapist had asked during one session. "What made you choose social media over your family?" Adora twisted her hands in her lap. "I felt invisible," she admitted. "Being a wife, a mother, it's beautiful, but sometimes you disappear into those roles. On TikTok, I was seen. I was somebody." "You were always somebody," Emeka had said softly. "You were everything to us." Kami's trust took longest to rebuild. The little girl who had once run to her with every triumph and tear now approached cautiously, as if afraid her mother might disappear into her phone again. Adora learned to be patient, to earn back her daughter's confidence one moment at a time. They started small, homework sessions at the kitchen table, bedtime stories that stretched longer each night, Sunday afternoons spent baking increasingly ambitious treats. Gradually, Kami's laughter returned to fill their home, her artwork once again claiming pride of place on the refrigerator door. One evening, as Adora braided Kami's hair for school the next day, her daughter asked, "Mommy, do you miss being famous?" "Mommy," Adora's hands stilled for a moment. "No, sweetheart," she said truthfully. "I was never really famous. I just thought I was. This, being here with you and Daddy, this is real." The months rolled by, marking time not in likes and followers, but in meaningful moments. Adora's phone gathered dust on her bedside table, no longer a lifeline, but simply a tool. She used it to take pictures of Kami's school events, to coordinate with suppliers for their shops, to send good morning messages to Emeka when he traveled for business. The marriage strengthened, not into the fragile thing it had been before, but something more resilient, tempered by trial. They learned to talk about their fears, their dreams, their needs. Emeka supported Adora's ambitions, but now they worked together to ensure those ambitions enhanced rather than replaced their family life. Even their extended family noticed the change. During a Sunday visit, Mama Ki pulled Adora aside. "You're glowing," she said, patting her daughter's cheek. "This is what real happiness looks like." The boutique and foodstuff shop flourished under their joint care. Adora found she could apply her creativity to window displays and marketing strategies, while Emeka handled the finances and supplier relationships. They made a good team, their different strengths complementing each other in ways they hadn't appreciated before. A year after her last TikTok video, Adora sat in the garden, watching Emeka push Kemi on the swing set. The evening sun painted the sky in colors no filter could enhance. Their daughter's laughter carried on the breeze like music. Her phone lay forgotten inside, its screen dark. She had no need to capture this moment for an audience. Leaving it was enough. "Hiya, Daddy!" Camille squealed, her feet reaching for the clouds. "Hold on tight, princess." Emeka laughed, his face bright with joy. Adora smiled, feeling the weight of contentment settle in her chest. The thousands of followers she'd lost had been replaced by the two people who mattered most, her husband and daughter. Their likes couldn't be measured in hearts or numbers, but in shared meals, gentle touches, and quiet moments of understanding. The journey had been difficult, but necessary. Adora had learned that true fulfillment couldn't be found in the hollow applause of strangers or the artificial light of a phone screen. It lived in the messy, imperfect, beautiful reality of family life, in morning rushes and goodnight kisses, in shared dreams and forgiven mistakes, in the courage to be present for every moment, filtered or not. As the sun set over their home in Onuka, Adora whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. She had lost her way once, chasing digital dreams, but found her way back to what truly mattered. In the end, it wasn't about the number of followers she had, but about following her heart back home.